It's lunchtime.
Oh, so what do you want for lunch?
Whatever.
Whatever. How about pizza?
Too dry.
Too dry, huh? How about pho?
Too much soup.
It's too much soup. How about hộp long?
Ew, no one have that for lunch.
So what do you want for lunch?
Whatever.
Whatever. All right, so let's take a look at some nouns that are going to be particularly useful for answering specific questions about food. So the first one is cuisine. Cuisine is, you could think of cuisine as a particular style or method of cooking. And we usually use this to refer to a country's type of food. For example, we'd say Vietnamese cuisine, or I love Italian cuisine, or my favorite cuisine is Mexican. It refers to a particular style of cooking from a certain place. And we also have something called regional cuisine. So within Vietnam, we could think of Vietnam as 3 regions, right? The southern region, the central region, and the northern region. And the food isn't the same, right? It's different in each region. So we could talk about southern cuisine as spicier or sweeter or more delicious than northern cuisine. Our next noun is processed food. As you can tell from the picture, the processed food is not usually a good thing. It means they put chemicals, preservatives inside the food so it can last for a very, very, very long time. When you see people eating snacks, potato chips and things like that, that's processed food. They put a bunch of things into it just to make it last a lot longer or taste better or different or something like that. That's processed food, and it's usually a bad thing. The next one is a balanced diet. A balanced diet is a good thing. You can think of it like a balance, like a scale, right? Do you eat enough of grains and vegetables, enough fruit and vegetables? Are you eating way too much meat or not enough vegetables or something like that? A balanced diet means you're eating enough of the foods that are good for you. That's a balanced diet. All right, home-cooked food is very self-explanatory. I don't even think I need to say anything about this. I think you understand home, you understand cooked, and you understand food. Home-cooked food is food that has been cooked at your home. Maybe it was cooked by your mom or your dad or your sister or your grandma. If it's cooked at home, it's home-cooked food. Fussy eater, this is one of my favorite, or maybe not so favorite words. A fussy eater is, it refers to somebody who is picky about the foods they eat. They don't like this one, they don't like this one, they don't like this one, they don't like this one. They only like certain types of foods. It's very limited. My son is a very fussy eater. There's a lot of foods he refuses to eat, so I would call him a fussy eater. You could also say a picky eater too. The next noun is vegetarian. Vegetarian. That word looks very familiar, doesn't it? Can you think of the word I'm thinking? It looks similar to vegetarian. Vegetable, and that's how you can probably remember this word. A vegetarian is somebody who doesn't eat meat. They eat a lot more vegetables and grains and things like that. They just don't eat meat. And if you want to take it even further, there are some people who don't eat any animal products at all. No meats, no cheeses, no dairy at all, no eggs. They won't wear leather that's been made from an animal. Those kind of people we call vegans. So vegetarians don't eat meat. Vegans don't eat anything related to animals at all. All right, everybody, we're going to play a game. I have some phrases here that are connected to food and drink, and then I have the meanings on the other side. And what you need to do is match the phrase to the meaning of that particular phrase. Do you think you can do it? Are you ready? Let's try. Our first phrase related to food and drink is to foot the bill. If we go to a restaurant and I offer to foot the bill, can you guess what that means? Well, you were very lucky because that means I offered to pay for you. I paid the bill, I foot the bill for you. I have a sweet tooth. I think you could probably guess from the word sweet what that means. Do you have a sweet tooth? If you do have a sweet tooth, that means you like candies and desserts and you like sweet things, of course. I have a sweet tooth. Our next phrase connected to food and drink is to eat like a horse. To eat like a horse. I'm pretty sure you could guess what that means just by the image that it puts in your head, right? To eat like a horse is to eat a lot. To eat a lot of something. So if I'm hungry, if I haven't had lunch and I go home and I want to have dinner, I can usually eat like a horse. I can eat a lot of food. grab a bite. Oh, I'm feeling a little bit hungry. I want to go out and grab a bite to eat. What does that mean, grab a bite to eat? It just means to eat something. That's all it means. I want to grab a bite. It means I want to eat something. Our last phrase, eat right. Eat right. I think you could probably guess what that means too. Do you remember back to our nouns that we were talking about, to have a balanced diet? What did that mean? It meant to eat the right types of food, right? Eat healthy foods. So eat right means to eat the right types of food, to eat healthy foods and foods that are good for you. If you have a balanced diet, that means you eat right. Let's take a look at some questions that are connected to food and drink that the examiner might ask you if food was the topic. So we also want to think about the grammar. The purpose of this exercise is to look at the questions, break down the grammar a little bit, because again, that helps us think about what grammar we need to answer these questions. A present perfect question, you might have a past simple answer. Present simple question, you might have a present simple answer. Past simple question, you might have a past simple answer. So we need to think about the grammar when we answer these questions a little bit, just to make sure we're not constantly using the same grammar again and again. So the first question, what's your favorite food? A very easy question, right? I think that's a question, if you've studied IELTS, you've probably answered that a million times. That's a question I like to ask my elementary students. So it's a present simple question, which would usually mean we're going to answer using present simple tense as well. But I want to throw in some second conditional just to keep my answer and my structures varied a little bit. So if I were to answer this question, and see if you can spot the second conditional here. Well, I love Italian cuisine. So if I had to choose one, I'd say it's probably spaghetti. I love all the different types of sauces you can put on it, like tomato or cream. It's filling, so I don't need to eat a lot of it. Plus, it can be vegetarian too. The next question, have you always liked the same food? Let's think about the grammar in that a little bit. Have you always liked the same food? What is that? It's present perfect, right? Now, when you get a present perfect question, it's usually asking you maybe to describe a specific time in your past. And then we're going to use past simple when we answer it. So I'm going to use a little bit of present simple and I'm going to use a little bit of past simple to talk about my younger days. All right, so let's try this. Have you always liked the same food? No, not really. I used to be a very fussy eater when I was younger, and I only ate home-cooked food. Then I started traveling, and I tried a lot of different cuisines from around the world. I'm a much more adventurous eater now. Is there any food that you dislike? We have a present simple question here. Let's see if we can get a present simple answer, and maybe some other structures too, like past simple or present perfect. Is there any food you dislike? Oh yes, definitely. I can't stand liver from any animal in any dish. I think it's disgusting. My mom used to cook it because my dad liked it, but I've always hated it and could never get used to it no matter how many times I've tried. What's a common meal in your country? Again, this is another present simple question here. So we're going to have some present simple in our answer, but I also want to sprinkle in some adverbs of frequency and maybe some superlatives or comparatives so we can talk about different kinds of food. So what's a common meal in your country? Well, I think a lot of people would probably say pho because it's the most famous, but I don't think it's the most common. The most common are probably rice dishes. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say most people in my country eat it every day because there are a million ways to prepare it. Do you have a healthy diet? Another present simple question, so we will probably have some present simple in our answer, but I want to talk a little bit about my younger days, so I'm going to sprinkle in some past simple and also some present perfect. So, do you have a healthy diet? Well, for the most part, yes. I try to eat a balanced diet and avoid processed foods. I haven't always been that way though. I used to like junk food and I ate way too much red meat, but recently I've tried to start eating right and take care of my health. All right, everybody, I hope these tips and tricks were useful to you. Remember to practice the nouns, the adjectives, think about the grammar, practice the grammar, and your English will become a lot more natural. Thank you for tuning in.
VUS, your English, your future.